guard from Frisco, Texas, and Justin Page, who has talked about, one of the few returning players for the Purple Eagles. He will start things out as right away, Duquesne. The tap goes all the way into the front court, and we get the first two for Terrence Ginyard.
Like you said, one of the new guys, and we'll be saying that for a while until they're not new anymore.
Drew Larson, your other starter, by the way, for the Purple Eagles. We'll be very interested to see how all the size up front that the Dukes have put together during the offseason manifests in this game, and they should have a bit of a size advantage in the backcourt as well. Good contest on the first defensive sequence for Jakub Netjes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You want that defense to start on the right foot because it's the calling card for Duquesne no matter who wears a jersey.
That pass was a little hot from Hughley as I think he was trying to dunk it into Netjes and actually almost went in by accident. Netjes was down deep underneath the rim. Netjes wearing number 9 for the Dukes, by the way, this year as opposed to number 7.
Yeah, the two guys changed numbers. Crawford as well. You a 9 or 7 guy, Tim? I'm more of a 7 guy.
I'm more like, he looks like a 7 to me, but he said he wore 9 in Europe, and now he's got a good contest and a block, so it's working for him on the defensive end. Jimmy Williams will tee up at 3, and he's hot to start too, just like Ginyard.
Yeah, Jimmy Williams, one of those new guys. He was at Wallace State Community College. As the coaches say, they come from anywhere these days.
And they'll get Crawford on the bump as Walters took it into the front court. And Drew Joyce admitted that when he first met Jimmy Williams, the USF transfer, he was actually scouting somebody else as you see him knock down his first 3 at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse.
Yeah, he drilled
Didn't even remember scouting him in high school. And,
wow.
You know, wasn't even sure that the prep school still existed anymore.
Had the shot there. The floater is short.
Now, Page, good move to get around Netjes. Stays on the pivot foot. Shot no good. And Williams tried to tap it ahead, lost it, but now Hughley will handle things to break it out for Duquesne.
Page got himself in position to make a play. Keep an eye on that.
Quick trigger from Ginyard. It is going to go over to Niagara. Last touch by Netjes.
You know, the book on Page is that, first of all, he's a lone returning starter, which in of itself speaks volumes, and he's had a really good offseason, summer, all of that, practices. But, he's one of those guys that knows the standards, expectations. He can dish. He can also create his own opportunity, which is exactly what he did in the last possession.
Against Cleveland State and Virginia Tech in the scrimmages, Drew Joyce liked the way that the Dukes played with pace, and you're kind of getting a sense of that right now.
Yes.
Crossover from Walters, kicks it to Page, but it looks like he stepped on the out-of-bounds line, so it'll kick back to the Dukes.
For me naming him the key player to watch, whatever, he should have come over and asked me about that area because, as we're well aware, everybody steps out of bounds over there in the first game.
Yeah, we're convinced it's a couple inches more narrow than it should be.
It is. It's like, what's that part of the
Bermuda
sea?
Triangle.
Thank you, Tim.
It's more like a rectangle. Who are we to be?
Good play.
Too choosy about our words here. Now Reggie Prudhomme will handle things. Off to Walters, his shot no good, and out of bounds off of Hughley, and it will stick with Niagara. Our officials tonight, Matt Oblis is our lead referee. John Barley, who is a Moon Moon product, but actually went to Seton LaSalle and also played at La Roche, and Colbert Galliano, your 3 officials this evening. Game 1 at the UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, and good play there by Crawford defensively, deflected it, went off one of the Niagara players and into the Dukes bench, and they'll steal a possession back. Drew told us before the game that he really liked the way they handled the quality of possessions that they had against Virginia Tech in the scrimmage. Thought they won that handily against the Hokies.
Well, they were down in that game pretty well late, and then they got on a great run to put it away.
Hughley sticks with it. Second effort, no good, and a rebound by Larson. Good defensive sequence. Actually, there by Short, who checked into the game. And reaching for the steal is Netjes, and he's going to be whistled for the foul. So that's 2 quick ones of the Dukes here before the first media timeout. Page will go out. And the Eastern Washington transfer, Vica Zonke, comes into the game.
Had a couple of years out there, and he's the lone Division I transfer. Everybody else is from junior college, a variety of different venues and places around the country, but not Division I except him.
Wanted to get the back cut to Zonke. It wasn't there. Hawkins stayed with the dribble. Now it's taken by Ginyard. He slows up, lets the offense catch up to him. Operating from the top of the key again is Hughley. Williams fights his way through the logo and gets two. Patient dribble there by Williams. Didn't have it at first. Dialed it back for a second, then one more big pound through the A-10 logo and gets a pair out of it.
Yeah, there's 4 Division I transfers for Duquesne. He's one, and those 4 have contributed for almost 1,700 points in their careers. So they know how to get to the hoop and what to do when they get there.
Underneath, Netches comes away with a chest pass. On the wing, Crawford, 3, no good. Griffith gets the board.
Good movement, good pass there by Netches.
Greg Paulus, the coach of Niagara, telling Griffith to calm it down here, work a little clock. Paulus, former Duke player and Syracuse University quarterback as well. Three-pointer no good, rebound by Ginyard. He had 8 of those in the scrimmage against Virginia Tech. Dukes like their size better in the backcourt as well. Crawford will try another 3, that one's short. Tipped head to Griffith, doesn't have the numbers, so he'll slow up and let the rest of the Purple Eagles ascend into the front court.
Yeah, regroup, reset.
Josiah Sabino getting set to check in, and for a guy who's trying to get a feel of who his players are, boy, Greg Paulus certainly go to the bench fast and early here.
This is true.
We're seeing most of the roster before we even hit the first media timeout. Williams hit his first 3, no good on the second one.
He's one of those players with size, Tim, and I know that that's a point of emphasis that Coach had. And as I said, you did that really, really fine article in the Trib detailing some things he wants to change about himself, but also on the court, and that was one of them. Bigger size in the backcourt.
Top of the arc, no good from short. Accelerating is Williams into the paint. And another layup for Williams. Boy, he does get to the rim, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. Goes straight at it. Averaged 22.5 points at the community college. Prior to that, he was at South Florida.
Now a timeout is called by Niagara. 9-0. The Dukes pitching a shutout so far, and they're getting it done enough on the offensive end as well. Our first break in the action brought to you by Cordia, creating energy solutions.
And there's a game I think about, Coach, as we look over there. Greg Paulus, you pointed out, is in his. I have him in 7th season at Niagara, but let's just go with the idea that he has definitely coached at several programs, high-level programs, and played, of course, as you mentioned, hoops at Duquesne, football at Syracuse, which is still hard for me to think about.
They'll stay with Niagara, but again, Crawford challenging the pass. We saw him create a turnover earlier in the game already and nearly created another one. Greg Paulus is also an assistant here in the conference before for a year with George Washington. Was an assistant on David Padgett's staff at Louisville, and also longtime assistant at Ohio State under Thad Matta as well, and took a lot from what he learned from Coach Mike Krzyzewski as a player and assistant there as well at Duke.
On or off the court, he says nobody teaches better than Coach K.
And when we were talking to Drew Joyce about what the Purple Eagles do well, as we'll get a second foul on Crawford, reached around from the backside to get a piece of Griffith on the baseline drive. He'll go out, and we'll get our first look at Brandon Hall, who was injured all of last year, so interested to see what he can bring to the table too.
Yeah, and I think there's a fair amount of intrigue associated with that with a lot of the fans as well. How many times last year did we get questions from fans during breaks or during halftime after the games, asking about those guys that aren't playing this year? Well, that's changed with 2 of them back, including that gentleman right there.
Another miss from Page, try to work it down low, size mismatch, but a good block from behind. As Van Bussel, the St. Louis transfer, Steph Van Bussel got the block, and now he'll also draw a foul in the offensive end.
Tim, I want to point out that you were talking about us talking to Coach. Here we go. There's a defensive play. This is a staple with this program, as Coach told us, and we all know that. But he said, I really just try to keep it as simple as I can. I don't have a laundry list, but he's clearly looking for things like effort and energy and pride. He's also looking, speaking of the P, for patience, as he told you as well separately, with the trib, right?
Wanted to be more patient, now he coaches in practice. Wanted to be more patient, and now he coaches during games. And the big thing for him that he really focused on was more patience in recruiting, Ellis.
Oh, the way
Going through the bios, checking with teachers in high school, checking attendance records, making sure they dot all the I's and cross the T's on a character front as well.
Yeah, I didn't know whether he was the head coach or worked for the FBI. I mean, he really went into a lot of detail as to the detail they go into.
Fun matchup here is Walters quick. So is Dom Akins, the freshman that they're very high on for Duquesne. But Akins draws the foul as Walters was able to get into the paint and take the challenge to Akins. He'll go to the free throw line.
Yeah, Akins actually initially signed with Duquesne in November of 2023. That actually seems like a long time ago. Then he spent a year at prep school. Finally breaks the ice with the free throw, so the Purple Eagles are on the board. Now we go.
One player we didn't mention who's back in the game is Maximus Edwards, who entered the portal but came back.
He did, and you may remember last year, Duke fans will remember his first game, Lipsum, and had a heck of a game. Ended up shooting a lot of successful three balls last season in the regular season.
David Dixon on the floor as well now for the Dukes. Coming off the bench. He'll be playing a little bit more 4 than 5 this year because of some of the added depth that they have. None of the starters in right now for Duquesne. Get a look at everybody. Dixon trying to take advantage inside, and he does. David Dixon, who had 4 against the Hokies, gets his first pair for the evening.
You see him practice that against Air. It's nice to see him against a formidable opponent getting it done with the same move.
Now Edwards trying to lock up Page, who manages to get by him. Kicks it in the corner. Now return pass to Page. Thought about it right away. Good defense by Hall to jump out. Down to 3 on the shot clock. Purple Eagles have to hurry, and it's going to be a shot clock violation. A difficult attempt from Sabino, who drove under the net and just flipped one up out of desperation and didn't touch anything, so it turns into a shot clock violation. A real good defensive series for the Dukes as you see David Dixon get his first basket of the year.
Yeah, right there, as we just talked about. Practices it a lot.
Big screen from Van Bussel. Akins uses it just off the elbow and rolls it in.
You mentioned Akins earlier. We've talked about him, a freshman, 5'10", Columbus. He spent last season at Winston-Salem Christian School.
One of the better athletes that the Joyce and Dambrot coaching staff think they've ever had here at Duquesne.
Well, you said
maybe not Jimmy Clark, but close. And that's saying something.
I was going to say, if you mention Jimmy Clark, then we have to have a conversation. That when you see a guy come over the top like that from the back, how often is that whistled? I mean, you've got to be very, very careful and have good body control, discipline. And that's what he reflected right there, and that's a very positive sign. Didn't play last year at the Charleston, the College of Charleston. So we'll see how this works out for him in this role.
You know, they want to get more trips to the free throw line. And they want to get a little bit more interior presence scoring-wise, so that one rolls off.
You know, we should point out about Van Bussel as well. I mean, he didn't play last year. He was a medical redshirt. But before that, he played at St. Louis with the A-10. I mean, and you take a look at that, and he got about 8 minutes a game as a freshman. So, true freshman, 23, 24. He got some, stats across the board. And so, he's coming in, yes, with that season off, but also with some experience at a top program.
Now he'll check out, and yet another one of the big bodies that's been added to the roster, Lazar Milosevic, is into the game.
Yeah, I will say that this guy is an interesting fellow when you consider his background and where he has played. Not too many players that you could say, has his profile in terms of experience. He played in it's called the Republika, however you want to say it, of Srpska, which Serbians call Srpski, but that's okay. It's the same place. Met the young man away from here and also here before the game. We chatted. Very, very nice, affable young man.
Now Hall, he's got a good frame.
Yes, he does.
He's got a good form on that shot, too.
Tim Benz.
talking about Milosevic and just the recruiting that Duquesne has done, and some of these, of course, are transfers. Dixon bats it to himself a couple times, then finishes it off. The hard part was catching it. The dunk was the easy part.
Right, and he loves coming off the bench. If you're new to the game here, that's the deal. He's fine coming off the bench, and he's excelled in that. And
now Dixon gets a rebound, too.
Another rebound. Of course, we're well aware of where he is in terms of blocks and dunks. He's in the rare air with over 100 in each category.
Turnover by Hall. Duke's out in front by 15 with about 10 minutes left to go in this game, approaching the halfway point of the first half. Oh, your steal there by Edwards. Hall all over Williams. Larson pulling Milosevic away from the hoop. And that drive goes, and finally Niagara able to get a basket from Hawkins. For Niagara, that's their first field goal at the under 10-minute mark, but it's answered right away by Milosevic.
Also played in Denmark, so a guy that's got a lot of international experience. And, yeah, that was pretty deft with the left hand there off glass. Tim, you made another great point as well earlier. I didn't forget it, about Duquesne wanting to get to the line more. I've talked about that the last couple of years, actually. And I'm glad it was a point of emphasis. And they've got a couple of guys that are new to the program that have made their mark there. And that's something that as you get into conference play, because we're well aware, so many close games Duquesne's had over the last few years. And those games are often decided very much at the stripe.
Where I was going with the thought about Milosevic before Dixon's dunk is, feels like half the roster originates from Ohio and the other half originates from Europe.
That's fair. You could argue they're both one and the same. When you take a look at the European descent in Ohio, that just
underneath the net just runs into three Purple Eagles, gets rid of it. Crawford, and hits every part of the rim and comes out. Now Williams, he'll eye it, he'll buy it.
I'll tell you what,
Jimmy Williams.
We had the line on that one, and he buried it, as you said.
I got a foul immediately after, and he'll stay with Duquesne on the inbound.
Yeah, Milosevic ended up on the ground.
So the Dukes will get the ball right after that three to inbound it into the front court again. Boy, Williams has really been on to start here.
He certainly has.
He's already up to 10 points and 4 or 5 shooting. Dukes have hit 10 of their first 17.
When he was at Wallace State, as I said earlier, where he was last year, before, which is where he went after South Florida, got a lot of time, 30 games in South Florida. That's something notable. Played 35 at the community college, averaged about 23 a game. So he knows the rim pretty well. Nice hands.
Stolen by Ginyard all by himself. He'll go up and he'll lay it in softly. And Greg Paulus wants a timeout. Down by 20. Paulus has seen enough, and he wants to reset things with his team, and the Dukes are flying.
He finally got it where he wanted it. And he then did his signature raising of a roof.
During the timeout, we had the hot shot competition with the fans out of the stands. The two competitors were both wearing Duquesne Club hockey jerseys.
I know, those are sweet.
The jerseys are sweet. Let's just say that their shooting technique, well, they're hockey players for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay. As long as if you rock jerseys like that, that's good by me. By the way, Duquesne's winning this game in all the key areas, in the paint, in fast breaks, on the bench. Numbers very lopsided. All areas that I know that Coach Paulus, particularly the fast break and in the paint, knew would be a challenge, but they also were key points for him to stop or limit.
Three-pointer halfway down comes out. That looks like it was about to fall from Prudhomme. Ginyard, we've already seen his quick first step. That's on the scouting report. And they think he can handle a lot of the ball handling and scoring duties that we saw from Trey Dinkins last year. And
there it is. There's the first one.
Makes the prayer hands up to the ceiling after missing his first couple, but they know he's a good three-point shooter. His accuracy was on display in the A-10 last year, And one area where they think he can improve even further with the three-point shooting, being ready to shoot right away on the catch.
Yeah, that's right. You could practice that, and that's drill after drill after drill after drill. But they're not that complicated either. So you ought to be able to have a lot of them. Get the layup right there. By the way, they're talking, of course, about Crawford, and as I said, a totally different player. I think Coach said to us the other day that he didn't say two words last year about this time. Now he's been through it, and he's so far ahead at times in practice, he wants to skip drills in the meantime. And Coach has to sort of tap the brakes, say, well, not everybody had that experience.
Ginyard, after the pass out from Williams. I thought Williams had the alley to take it himself. He decides to give it up, and now it could be a 4-point play.
That was deep. And it was in the corner, which is a place where actually Crawford has done quite well at both corners. But he had space, he got it off quick. That's a big splash right there.
And he makes the 4-point play count. The Dukes are rolling 32-7 in front of Niagara.
Right. He was one of the players I was referencing about getting to the free throw line. That's something that's a calling card of his, and wherever he's been. And, of course, he was able to hit the three as well.
And he's playing really sticky defense tonight, too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's Hughley with a block. Get it out to Netjes, but it's banged off the backboard. So much for the exclamation point on that, but Hughley got all of that block right off the bottom of the backboard.
Well, he's only 31 boards away from 500, so you know he's going to be active there in that area.
Boy, forever it took for Short to find a way to get that shot off, but he kept the pivot foot down. Drew Joyce didn't think so, but the refs say yes, so now it's 9 on the board for Niagara.
Well, Coach, there we go.
As Crawford trying to make it 2 in a row. Short gets the rebound off the front rim.
Coach Paulus made the point of saying, hey, the best way to learn about your team, particularly one that's brand new, is basically playing other teams and facing adversity. Well, he's 2 for 2 tonight, and I'm sure he'll be finding some things to work on based on what he's seen so far.
Well, for them, it's also been not just playing other teams, but playing each other, too. The players made a big point about how much more Drew was letting them practice 5-on-5.
That's right. And we saw on Friday he was doing that, where everybody gets their separate sessions, one on one side of the back gym, one on the other side, the starters, the twos, and then they play opposite of each other. And, it's amazing, Tim, and I know I'm saying something quite silly, but the truth is that when you see guys play, when they're just doing their rotations and running plays and there's no opposition, why is it different when you get against opposition, including your own? And Coach makes that point of saying that, once you get there, it might look good, but it's not easy to get to the point where you're able to be effective against somebody else.
That tie-up gets the Purple Eagles players off the bench. And it'll go back over to Niagara in the alternating possession. But the players that I spoke with who were returning players, I asked them about that whole thing about Drew trying to be more of a patient coach.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously it hadn't manifested in a game yet. This is all sort of practice talk. And a little bit of a late whistle there on Ginyard, don't you think?
A little bit.
So Griffith will go to the free throw line again. But they said they hadn't really noticed all that much of a personality change in him, but they did notice how much more he was putting an emphasis and a value on what they did in scrimmaging 5-on-5.
Yep.
And they liked it because it wasn't about running yourself into oblivion with cardio. It felt like cardio with more of a purpose, especially with 8 newcomers learning how everybody plays. And they took a real value from that tactical change in practice from Drew.
I know David Dixon told you that. I saw the quote in the paper.
Cam Crawford said the same thing, too.
Yeah, and look, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's somewhat old school, but, that's fine by me. I mean, you're able to do really 2 things at once. You're able to face opposition, albeit your teammates. You're not playing against air, and you're getting a workout. I saw some sweat on Friday.
especially with the pace that these guards are playing with, like this guy, Williams.
Yeah. Boy, he's got real nice size. They wanted to upgrade the size, like you mentioned.
Good bounce pass.
Nice.
Excellent entry. And Hughley gets a basket off the assist from Ginyard.
Approaching 900 points in his career, which, of course, has seen him at the University of Pittsburgh, Xavier, Oklahoma.
Ginyard and Williams, very different builds. Williams, a thick, well-built kid, and Ginyard is lithe and wiry.
Yeah, they are. It's somewhat interesting.
Good compliments to each other in
Yeah.
terms of how they can guard different body types. There's another block. This one from Netches.
Went straight up instead of leaning, and therefore didn't have to worry about a foul.
Crawford will take it himself, and he will pick up the charge, and that's going to be his third foul, so I'm sure we won't see much more of him here in the first half as we approach the final media timeout after the 4-minute mark eclipses.
Yeah, and that's a good call. Feet were set. I was convinced that Crawford was taking an extra 3 or 2 along the way because he knew he was going to get X amount of time tonight. But I think he was considering it being the traditional coach taking him out after a while in the first game, not necessarily by having foul trouble.
Griffith runs the curl, has plenty of space, and
Very
lofts
nice.
it in. And maybe the Purple Eagles have found a rudder here for a little bit. That was an explosive start for Duquesne. Led largely by Jimmy Williams, who's in search of 2 more. Little back dribble. Hughley wants it. He's calling for it. Look at the giant mismatch he's got. He's got a 5'10" guy on him. And now Sabino throws it down. So a miscue on the offensive end for Duquesne turns into points for Niagara at the other end. Drew Joyce is beside himself angry because nobody recognized what John Hughley did, which was he's twice as big as the guy guarding him.
Right, absolutely. He's going to call that out. JoJo, one of those players.
Front 34-17. Also want to thank the good folks at Mike's Beer Bar. Mike's on the North Shore. Go there for all Duquesne sporting events. Mike's has over 500 available craft beers, 80 rotating taps. Get yourself a steak and a stone. Meet me at Mike's. And lots of sporting events now that we got crossover between hockey, basketball, football, NFL, college, NBA. It's all available at Mike's. And Hall wants a second 3, and he's able to hit it. Didn't have much rotation, but he drained it.
I was about to say the same words.
Well, is this what we're missing from Brandon Hall? I'm intrigued. He's got the wingspan. He's got the length, it looks like, to guard various positions, and has shown some range here in the first half.
He has.
Page's drive. And looks like he traveled, yeah.
Well, Hall does look out of place. I'll say that. I mean, he's looked comfortable from the moment he got in. You know, Tim, I suspect the second half we'll get into this more, but listen to Coach Drew the other day talk about the recruiting process. And we had some fun with it earlier, saying how detailed it is. It's even more detailed than we gave. We gave surface stuff there. And I think as the game goes on, we'll have an opportunity to really explain how much is done before you even pick up a basketball, as he put it.
Netches gets the rebound and puts it back on the offensive board.
Just take it straight up, be clean.
Mentioned Hall, who missed all of last year with injury. Jake DeMichael missed a huge chunk of last season with injury, too. He's out of the boot as he's coming back from that plantar fascia injury that turned into a stress fracture.
Yeah.
So it's been a real struggle for DeMichael to get back on the court, but he's working his way back. I think the goal is for him to come back before conference play, certainly. Now down to 2 on the shot clock. Griffith better hurry. Floats it. I don't think it touched the rim, did it? No, it didn't.
Well, make no mistake, a couple of years ago, he was a difference maker. He bought in totally to what Coach Dambrot was all about. And they had quite the record when he was in games 15-6. And there were times when I can still remember typing up our prep and Coach saying, yeah, he's been a hero to us. He saved our season type of stuff.
During the tournament run, yeah.
Yeah, but the injury has been a problem.
As for Niagara, this is a team that's trying to come back from a 6-14 record, 12th in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference a year ago. When I was going through their numbers, Ellis, it's ridiculous how many close games they were in throughout the conference season and just didn't get the benefit of a lot of close results. Defensive foul underneath on the baseline.
Niagara?
Yes.
Yeah, and well, Duquesne's had a lot of close calls. I mean, you take a look at their, I think of the last 20 games, I'm sorry, 62.5% of Duquesne's games during the entire season decided by 9 points or less, and that was 20 games, which is what I was getting to. The outcome of 12 was decided by 5, and there's more like that.
Well, I'll go through it here. Starting in January, after the new year, Mount St. Mary's, conference play, 6-point loss, followed by 3, 4, 7, 2, 9, 5, 1, 34 at Siena. 3, 2, 5, and 1.
That's the one that screws up
the
curve.
That's the one that screws up the numbers. But that's an average margin of defeat. If you take out that Siena game, an average margin of defeat of -4 in those conference games for a team that went 6-14. As Aikens drive, oh boy, how did that not go down? But now one of the good things about having 11 newcomers is very few guys have that rotten taste in their mouth and can try to reboot here in 2025-26. That's well off the mark.
Tim, I understand that they're playing, Duquesne's playing a team from a quote-unquote lower conference, but less profile conference. But am I missing something here? Does Duquesne look like they're playing well together, very naturally well together, and fast?
Especially with the amount of new guys that are being interwoven with each other.
Right.
Just to clarify what happened there, I don't know if we caught that, but they gave a warning to Dixon for slapping the ball away after he made that hoop.
I was assuming that's what the whistle was.
Just a warning, no technical.
Final season on the bluff, he knows that.
A rare 4-year player, one of only 4 4-year guys in the A-10 this year.
Can I tell you the truth, Tim? I saw him before the game, didn't get a chance to ask him. I'll ask you, I'll ask the audience, how does that work? I don't.
You didn't know it was allowed anymore.
No, I thought everybody had 8 or 9 years.
Oh, this goes off Aikens' fingertips.
8 or 9 years, Tim. I mean, every time you turn around, you see guys 6 and 7. 6 and 7 certainly in football didn't surprise us at all.
Well, it's A.J. Ackerman here with the Dukes, just played his 50th career college football game.
Yeah, right. It's amazing. He and his cohort right beside him.
You talking about Kersinger?
Yeah.
Saw those two guys, actually. They were leaving the weight room today. I was coming into the building. Those guys getting set to play Long Island. Oh, change of mind. It actually worked out. That was from Trenton Walters. Little bounce pass that ended up working as the long shot goes off the top of the backboard. Last 2 points to Kabeya Shabangu, and that's how we go to halftime with the Dukes in front by 21, 41-20. Solid first 20.
The turnovers. Both teams had 10 turnovers. However, the Dukes had 4 steals, and Niagara had 5. And when you would expect that to, perhaps be a factor in terms of points. It didn't turn out that way. We'll see whether or not Duquesne can continue, though, by cutting down those turnovers.
Duquesne assistant coaches imploring the Dukes when they came out of the locker room to stay focused and come out hot to start the second half. They certainly did to start the first half, but you can see some of the verbalization from the assistant coaches during warm-ups really clapping in everybody's face, like, stay up, stay
right.
with it, stay locked in. I think the tempo with which the Dukes played in that first half helped them in that regard, just the pace of play.
They jumped on him. They did. And I remember the score being, I remember when Niagara had 7 points seemingly for a few minutes. And by that point, it was already a pretty big divide.
Good first touch offensively for the Purple Eagles that time as Hawkins worked in down low to get a basket. For Hawkins, that's his second field goal of the evening. Oh, one of the players fell down after the pick. Oh, really getting physical. Prudhomme and Hughley. Hughley definitely with a size advantage, but Prudhomme fought through it, and he's in possession of the basketball now. Griffin trying to drive around Netchus, and they're going to get him for the bump along the baseline. I thought he might have just stepped out on his own before that, honestly.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting down low there, Tim. You're right.
Yeah, Prudhomme's just 6 feet tall. Solid guard, but nothing like the size of Hughley. Now Prudhomme finds some space and finds himself with 3.
That's not that surprising when you take a look at it when he was at Cameron in Division II before. That's what he was doing.
Boy, Hughley just put a shoulder in, but lost control of the ball the way up. Sabino, and he's fouled. So Niagara's come out with some jump here in the second half.
They have. And their bench is up, and they're over there barking and all those good things. And, you know, Tim, there's a lot to be said. Look at this. Nice ball movement. Had the space, drilled it. Tim, Coach Paulus came over and talked to us before the game, and he reminded us they didn't have an exhibition game. This is it. They're walking right into a show. You know, with the facility, the lights, the people. And so when he truly says he is trying to figure everything out, he's trying to figure it all out. Now, he's got the background and so forth. Hopefully he's got the talent, and the talent being able to work together at the level to put it all together. And that's the same thing that Coach Drew right there is working on.
And now Hughley had to battle for it, but was able to get the rebound. And they're going to call Williams for warding off there with the forearm. And another lost possession offensively for Duquesne. It's been a struggle here to start the second half.
Well, I think one of the ideas is talking to even Coach Drew the other day. He was talking about on-the-ball defense and how important that is. And I said to him, Coach, that to me has always been about want and desire. You don't have to have the highest skill level, but you know you have to want it. And it looks like that was one of the messages that Niagara players got at halftime. Don't let these guys run you out of the gym by not at least playing hard defense. And I think that's what we're seeing. It's down to 15.
Now down is 1 second. Prudhomme turns around and nails it. It's his second basket of the second half. It's been all purple Eagles to start coming out of the locker room. Williams a quick shot, follow tap from Crawford, and they're going to call him for another foul, and that's going to be his 4th. So he shoved from behind when he was going up for the offensive rebound.
Yeah, watch this right here as they circle around to Prudhomme, keeping the ball. Netchus was stumbling, and he had the space described by Coach Paulus as dynamic. So he gets in tussles with Hughley at one end, and then he's hitting threes and jumpers on the other. That's dynamic.
Largest lead in this game, 32-7 for Duquesne.
Yep, there's that 7.
And the Purple Eagles are nibbling away before we get to the first media timeout here in the second half. Head and shoulder fake from Griffith, forces it up, and Niagara irate. They wanted a call, and they're going to call a technical foul on the bench. I think they gave it right to Greg Paulus.
Oh, they did, because he went over clapping. He said, "What'd I say?" That's what he's yelling. What did I say?
I don't think it's so much what he said. I think it's how far on the court he said it and how demonstrative he was getting in the ear of the official, Colbert Galino.
Yeah, he was clapping. There's the clapping. Yeah, he was out. I have a sense that, you know, let's face it, you don't have the background as an athlete that Paulus does without playing this game in his mind. It's the same thing with Coach Drew we've talked about before. He's playing the game in his mind as a point guard.
And Ginyard makes both free throws. It was an adventure against Virginia Tech at the free throw line, 12 of 23. You know, they wanted to make a point to get to the free throw line more often. We talked about this briefly in the first half. That's part of the reason they had such an emphasis on getting more size and scoring ability at the rim. They were way down the list, I think 13th and 15th respectively, in free throws attempted and free throws made in the A-10 because they just didn't get the interior production, the point production offensively. So there's a steal on the inbound after the technical as Akins tried to get it in. But it's also part of the equation. Once you get to the free throw line, you got to make them. And Ginyard is one of the few that did against Virginia Tech. Right. And that almost hurt them in that game. Well, it did hurt them, and part of the reason it was as close as it was. They're just over 50% shooting from the stripe. And there's a steal by Williams. He'll go up, and Jimmy will finish with a layup.
Strong with the steal and all the way down and finish. Now, that was the point earlier. You have 10 turnovers.
A little bit late on the whistle there as Drew Joyce didn't want to get a technical himself, but
right.
He eventually bought the call from the same official, Colbert Galino. Max Edwards in the game. Might see a lot of him and some of the other guards too, as Crawford, I think, is going to be out of the equation for a while with that fourth foul. Deflected out to Edwards. Puts it on the deck with the left hand. And there's a field goal to fall for Edwards.
Yeah, Williams getting that steal and finishing, and that's more what you want to see. If you're going to have 10 steals turnovers, you want to score more points off of that if you're Niagara. But nonetheless, you offset that when you have 10 turnovers as well.
Oh, and it got batted in. I think Edwards was the last one to touch that. That definitely went off one of the Duquesne players. Drew Joyce imploring Aikens to get into the front court with Hughley. Sabino throwing his head back after the elbow got up a little bit high, and a floater from Williams. That doesn't go. Prudhomme with some speed now pulls it back and waits to set up the offense for the Purple Eagles. Dukes in front by 17. Well, the balance of the scoring so far and the momentum coming out of the locker room had been for Niagara before that technical foul. Shot no good. Now we'll see what Aikens can do. Slings it over to Edwards. Stutter step, drops it down to Hughley, who finishes with the right hand. That was a heads-up play by Edwards.
I thought he was going to take it, the way he came down diagonally through the paint.
3 substitutions waiting to check in right now for Niagara. In the post, good defense by Netjes, not allowing any space at all for Justin Hawkins. And now a foul underneath. It's drawn by Netjes. Had a size mismatch, made the most of it. And the Dukes will talk some things over. 14:28 left to go. Duquesne out in front, 49-30. Time for a break. On St. Bonaventure beating Bradley 69-63. Davidson beating DeSales 49-30. George Mason out in front of Wofford 37-31. VCU beating Wagner right now 51-40 at halftime. St. Joe's leading Lafayette 50-46. Rhode Island out in front of Stetson 50-30. And Dayton beating Canisius 56-29. And a host of other A-10 games just underway that we'll get to in a few moments. How about that 11 a.m. tip for the Bonnies there, Ellis?
How about that? It's like the old days at the Garden where really, the Atlantic 10, same thing. You get to the championship rounds, you're playing around the clock, it seems like.
Well, the Dukes played against BYU in their NCAA tournament game. That was an 11 a.m. local start in Omaha.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was an early start.
But you were out there. I was thinking to myself, I didn't think about that as I was watching it. I was thinking about more like, 1 o'clock.
Trying to remember which coach it was. I don't think it was that tournament, but a West Coast team that was playing, the first game of the NCAA tournament, making the point about, they weren't a real up-tempo, high-paced team, but they went high-paced. They said they did that to get the blood going for those tournament games. Because Aikens, thought he got fouled, but got the ball back at least. Dixon, he thought about it, Ellis.
Yes, he did.
He wanted an early one. Van Bussel into the corner. Aikens dribbles out. He'll try a jumper and hit it. Good concentration and poise by Aikens because I think he felt like he deserved a foul. And he got popped a little bit too in the jaw. Hall back in after a strong first half, but he's going to get called for a foul right here. Now, use the word poise. That's something that Drew Joyce wanted to see a little bit better in the first half of games after those first 2 scrimmages, and I think he got that in the first half. Maybe not so much here in the second half.
No, but the bottom line is still the same. plus 21 at half, plus 21 now. But I agree with you. I thought the execution was perhaps a little tighter.
And Page is fouled. Almost got it to go to the free throw line for two. Get to the rest of the scoreboard for the A-10 here momentarily. Here we go. St. Louis just underway with Southeast Missouri State. Billikens trailing 9-6. Cleveland State taking on Loyola Chicago. Cleveland State 14-10 in front of the Ramblers. Maine and George Washington just started 7-7 in that one. As Page at the free throw line, they're going to take Akins out. I do think he started to bleed a little bit. Yeah, they're going to try to stitch him up underneath the chin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what do they list Akins at?
Even 6 feet.
Just taking a look out loud, 5'10". I mean, that might be charitable. Do you agree? Maybe.
I thought I saw him listed at 5'11" or 6 feet before. Now they're going to allow him to come back in.
I tell you, he's been impressive.
They really like him, and he's going to be a fixture in the rotation for sure this year. And there are minutes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are minutes to be had in the backcourt with the departures of Kareem Rozier and Trey Dinkins for sure.
Well, I mean, you talked in the open about how much was lost, but, you know, the Dukes did bring back about 50% of their shooting, scoring, 43%. Well, I thought it was 42. 42-8, a little over 45% of the rebounding and 32% of their assists. You know, that reflects losses, but it doesn't reflect an empty cupboard. And the recruiting class, I think, you know, filled it up fairly well, at least in the areas of need.
Page getting his first at the free throw line as he goes to the stripe for Niagara, and now we got a foul at the other end.
So, Tim, I want to run this by you. You know what I like about Duquesne so far, and it's super, super, super early, no harsh conclusions here. I like how they look different. Like,
physically?
Physically is one, style of play two. There were times last year I said on the air, it looked like five guys were all the same. And I think that's why I took really a lot out of your article where you talked about that with Coach Drew and speaking to him the other day and him saying, you know, I ran an idea that, you know, it used to basically be a lot less multidimensional. It's very multidimensional now. The player has to hit, and the player has to hit in the system. If it doesn't happen you could afford to have a recruit not work out well, but not 11. You don't have anything then. And if everybody plays the same, you're not doing anything.
Akins was swatted away by short open court, and the lay-in is good in transition. That's Vitsa Zonke.
That was a good play by Zonke. He had good speed, body control, took advantage of Akins and the size difference.
Backdoor feed from Dixon to Edwards doesn't go down. Zonke got his first field goal, and now Page is going to try for the same thing. It'll go to the free throw line instead, and it's going to be on Dixon.
So you were talking to Coach about about a background. I mean, it was pretty specific that we're taking notes and so forth. And I ran that theory by him without knowing you were running the theory by him. And he says, again, there's a lot of effort, a lot of energy put into research. There's always going to be an unknown, but you're trying to find the right fit for the group. And he mentioned something to me that really jumped out, Tim, and that was those things tend to come out during the recruiting process, the things that would create concerns or not. But I didn't expect him to tell me about consulting with the sports psychologist at Duquesne, Joe Carr, to make sure they were profiling effectively the right guy.
Well, the point that he was getting at was in his first year, he was just so anxious to get to coaching.
Yeah.
Let's get the guys in, let's get them signed, and let's get them coached up. Let's put this thing together with, transfers and recruits. I want to know who the roster is, and let's get coaching coming off the championship that they had. And maybe to the detriment of some of the research that you're talking about, they might have sped through that process, which is why he used the word patience as much as he did.
Right. So I think that between both of us, we covered a lot of that. And the other thing about it is, that looked good.
Oh, Van Bussel and Dixon fighting each other for the rebound.
That's good.
Knifing through is Aikens. That was creative.
He's Mercury, Tim. Yeah, he is really quick. And here's what I like about the entire topic, and I'll be done. Seriously, Tim, this is a conversation in almost every college program in America. It's not just Duquesne that we're talking about. It's not just Niagara we're talking about. This is a prevailing conversation around the country. It's why teams that have great classes in football we've seen have had pretty miserable years because, they're...
Stop by and do that.
Yeah, he's a good fellow. And when you did the first read for Mike's, I noticed you took like 1,001, 1,002 a beat. And I think you were suspecting I was going to do what I always do and interject and say, how many beers, Tim?
Yeah, I was just waiting for that. Well, it's a Monday night, Ellis.
Yeah.
And Monday night is flight night at Mike's. So you can get yourself a flight and sample their many craft beers.
Oh. You know a lot about Mike's.
Also a proud sponsor of the Breakfast with Ben's podcast at Trib Live.
That's right. I noticed that as well.
It's called cross promotion. Ginyard with the dribble. Dixon stays in the game. And I brought Cam Crawford back in.
Yeah, he did.
Well, 4 fouls.
Again, I think part of this, as we've talked about, is you go a little bit deeper with some of these guys because they have to come together.
And we got a whistle away from the action. And I think they're going to get Prudhomme on that one.
So, Tim Benz, I'm looking at this, and I always look at guards, as you're well aware, born and raised with that. Ginyard and Williams have combined for 22 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals. You know, you're always looking for how they are with the ball. Unfortunately, they got 4 of the 14 turnovers. So that'll be an area they want to clean up.
Getting a little indecisive on that. I thought he wanted to shoot, then saw Hughley pop open.
Mm-hmm.
And decided
I saw that. Yeah, Hall was 6 points, Dixon was 6 points, and Aikens was 6 points. But those 2 guards are going to key everything, Tim.
Oh, Ginyard left him all by himself in front of the Duquesne bench. That was almost like a layup for him.
Man, I'm just looking how long his arms are. What were you saying earlier about Aikens in terms of how
they think he's one of the better athletes they've recruited. Now, they didn't recruit Ginyard directly. He's a transfer. Oh, Hughley a little late getting over. Prudhomme wiped out, and now the ball is stuck in the basket. But, yeah, they love the athleticism of Ginyard, too.
Yeah.
Real natural athlete. That was part of what drew them to Crawford, too, when he was transferring.
Boy, you know, he ended up putting quite a year together. I mean, your coach said he didn't say 2 words, and he ended up 28 games, 22 starts.
Oh, Hughley pops out.
Hey, how about that? I've got a little something on that somewhere. Hughley and 3 balls. I'll get it.
He's shown that ability, showed it at Pitt. The stops that he had at Oklahoma and Xavier, and Drew Joyce was talking about sometimes you just get a guy at the right time in their development.
Right.
And that's what they feel about Hughley, as well-traveled as he is. As Zonke's shot is missed, and Hughley will get the rebound off the floor, and he'll lead it out, passing to Williams, who tracks it down. Stutter step, and now over to Ginyard again, who hoists, line drive hits. Another lead back up to 22.
I don't like that for them.
And Niagara cut into it, but Greg Paulus feels it slipping away, and he doesn't want it to slip any further. We'll use that to go to a break. Brought to you by Cordia, creating energy solutions.
The Duquesne notes point out that CBS Analytics provided some information of note, and that makes Hughley pretty impressive because he has a highest field goal percentage from the 3 for any player 6'10" or taller in the country with a minimum of 20 attempts. So you mentioned that he was doing it early in his career at Pitt. The other thing of note was that Coach Drew really makes the point. We go to the hoop.
Oh, Page turned the page.
He did. He
turned his man and dunked it down.
He made the point of saying he's been coached by really good coaches.
Quick release from Ginyard, tried to extend the streak of threes to no avail.
And if you look at his stops, he certainly has. And he communicates a lot. We saw him practice today, Tim. He talks a lot. Not talking trash, talking about be here, get there, be there.
Now Page, good ball movement by Niagara. Can't pay it off with a three-pointer, though. Ginyard scoops up that pass. Able to put on the brakes and wait for everybody to catch up.
He's going to give the team a lot on the court and production, but I think he's going to really help out in some other areas as well.
Prudhomme too handsy that time, got a piece of Crawford. That's the 7th team foul on Niagara. So we'll go to the free throw line for Crawford. Last year, if you look at Crawford and his free throw numbers, 78%. He was the best free throw shooter percentage-wise on the team. He'd like to get there more, I think, to the free throw stripe because, you know, Dinkins was really good at that. Last year, Crawford, if you can believe it, only 33 free throw attempts. Feels like that should be more.
Yeah, I mean, he was busy making threes from both corners, which is...
Yeah, it took let's check that again. 102 three-pointers, 200 total shots. Dixon goes out. He'll have a seat. Netchus and Hughley will make up the front court.
But I think like over 50% were made in those two corners. We saw him taking a lot of shots out beyond the corners tonight. I think all but one.
You and I talked to Hughley during the 8-10 media days, which were here. Ooh, would Williams get that away? He did. Ginyard somehow able to control it, and Crawford gets the layup.
All right.
Oh, degree of difficulty on that one.
I think that Ginyard may have to do a tryout to be the second wide receiver for the Steelers.
I hear there's some space there.
Maybe, Tim, that was remarkable. He caught it over the shoulder. Full blast with a defender on him.
Page able to get by Netchus, and he'll get a free throw too. Strong drive from Page. He's picked up the pace here.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to break on that. Page.
They've been at those 4 combined turnovers now for a while, so that's a good thing. That easily could have been a turnover.
Now Page will try to convert the three-point play. Free throw no good, so he sits at 8 points. Prudhomme is the leading scorer for Niagara. He's on the bench now with 4 fouls, though, as Page gets the rebound, too.
So right now, if I'm Duquesne, I'm saying, okay, guys, in that last huddle, come out, play hard, play with pace, give it to me for a few minutes, get to a break, and that'll be that. I think when you're Niagara and teams in Niagara's type of situation, of course you want to win. You certainly want to compete, but you have to want to message. And that's a message right there. You know, be competitive, take the good shot. Every single day, the message Paulus gives is make the simple pass, read the play, and make the play.
Hawkins gets a basket, answered right away by Maximus Edwards.
And that's how a loss could turn into a bit of a win in the sense, not literally obviously, but something that you could build off. He now has tape that he can specifically go address and teach on.
And Griffith threw it out of bounds, but they're going to say he was fouled, and the bench for Duquesne can't believe that one. Ginyard is astonished, as is Drew Joyce. So Griffith will go to the free throw line. That's the 10th team foul on the Dukes. Dixon's going to come back in.
So he was rubbing his eyes, that being Drew. Do you have a sense that he was saying patience? It's like
well,
my teeth.
That's a good point. He didn't really mention patience in terms of how he dealt with the officials, but perhaps that was implied.
I thought he said it, but if
did he?
I thought he pretty much. I don't know. I got.
See, I kind of thought Drew was patient with the officials last year.
I got to call him. Yeah, from what we could see, wasn't overly demonstrative. I've got your piece. I'm gonna look at it. I want to coach with more patience.
as Griffith makes the second. 20-point advantage for the Dukes.
Yeah, maybe I could read into it. Maybe I could read into everything and anything. Yoy! That ball was coming right at us, Timmy.
I was ready.
I know you were.
Late hands.
You were Ginyard.
Van Bussel with the handoff.
Nice.
Good bounce pass back to him, and he's fouled on the way up and one. Van Bussel didn't give up on the drive, didn't give up on the way to the hoop, and Ginyard threaded it to him. 3-point play coming for Duquesne potentially.
Well, I like that a lot. Ginyard is able to move. We talked about the fact that, I'm not Ginyard.
Van Bussel.
Yeah, and we talked about him having a background where he didn't play last year because he had a shirt, a medical shirt. But 23-24, he had 21 games with St. Louis. Averaged about 8 minutes a game, so he clearly was a key reserve.
Griffith way outside. Van Bussel will watch him, put a hand in his face, just enough to distract, and Edwards thought about the long pass. He'll dribble instead. Ginyard stops at the three-point arc and nails it with another 4-point play on the way. He's got one already, make it two.
Yeah, I think that Duquesne, I recognize, the opposition and so forth, and I'm not denigrating Niagara at all, but they're getting the players that look different from each other, that complement each other, and clearly for this stage of the season, they're getting a lot out of each other.
Ginyard 6 of 8 from the floor, 4 of 6 from three-point land. That's his first free throw miss, but Van Bussel got it anyway. Now from his knees has a pass intercepted. No numbers here, but Williams takes it anyway. Tapped right back to him, and they're going to say it's going to go off of one of the Niagara players and over to the Dukes with 5:11 left to go. Griffith getting some instruction from former Duke point guard Greg Paulus on the way to the bench. We are getting some major announcements from the truck, Ellis. Did you hear that?
I did. I'm going to give you the honor.
Well, let's see if Max Edwards decides to make it 11. It comes up short. That is the 10th three for the Dukes today. And I'm now informed that the new promotion this year is free tacos for 10 threes in a game from Moe's.
I heard it, and I'll be honest with you, I'm assuming that includes you and I.
I expect to get one on the way out.
Expect? I'm a demand. Come on. I didn't see fine print with this little star asterisk, give it, except for Tim and Ellis.
In parentheses, no media available.
Right. And even then, I think that they would let everybody else except you and I.
Oh, good angle shot from Zonke as he spins against Edwards.
I like that kid. He's got some polish to him, Tim. The kid, Eastern Washington. How you go from Eastern Washington to Niagara? That's a case study.
Williams will make it 11. Jimmy likes it as Jimmy Williams extends the lead for the Dukes. That's his third from distance.
Yeah, he's playing pretty free as well. I've got Ginyard up to 19 points and 15 now for Williams. It's 34 in your backcourt.
Dangerous backcourt as Prudhomme comes right back with a bucket. He's the lone Purple Eagle in double figures now with 11. And a whistle as they tried to get it free to Edwards for a three. And they're going to call, I think it was Van Bussel with the foul, but we'll figure it out when we go to our last media timeout. 3:45 remaining. Who spent all of last year injured. Alex Williams getting some playing time right now. We were excited to see him.
Yeah, absolutely, because he was one of those players, again, we were being asked about. And it's good to see him out there. And, Tim, I think it's an understatement to say, as Coach Drew told us the other day, that, defense has sort of been in the fabric here for a while. And it really has. I mean, you talk about that number of games, and it's just there are a number of different stats or numbers available where if you're getting less than 60, you're winning. And we often look at those things, particularly as we get to a stage of the game like right now.
It's a real nice cut from Zonke, but the pass had nothing on it. Greg Paulus was imploring Hawkins to deliver it with more, be assertive with the pass. And they're going to get a foul as Van Bussel made his way to the hoop.
So, Tim, I'm looking at the guards, and we talked about the guards in particular. I'm talking about Ginyard and Williams. They've combined for 34 points, 9 assists, which means they've had their hands in at least 18 more, right? Depending on how many threes were hit, if any. So that's impressive. They've had 4 steals. And, yeah, they're still at the 4 turnovers, but that's been that way now for most of the second half. I think that's a pretty good plus-minus.
Yes. Lazar Milosevic coming back into the game. As Van Bussel goes out with 10 solid minutes. Mentioned his time at Charleston. You ever been to that campus?
No.
Nice campus. Love that city, too. I'm a big fan of Charleston. Duke's played them a couple times.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in Savannah this year, which is totally irrelevant to your question. I figured.
Page from the elbow, and that one goes.
He is a nice player, Tim.
Had a lot on his shoulders being one of the guys that's come back here and kind of getting everybody else acclimated to the program, and got some rave reviews from the coaching staff for how he's handled that part of his job.
You need to have that. You need to have that. You need to have somebody who's going to carry the message into the locker room.
Milosevic just getting his second field goal, and timeout called by Niagara. And so now it looks like the Dukes are going to get some of the walk-on players into the action.
Good for them.
I think they can be a different type of team with the different components that they have at the rim. Like, you can see it now.
You can see it now for sure. You can see a lot of things now. They have pieces. They have pieces that are differentiated. They have pieces with complementary skills. They got pieces that have their own skills, whether that be defense or creating or shooting, what have you. I think it is. I won't say night and day, Tim, but you and I both know. I talked about it a few times last year. It seemed like there was no distinction. And I think that there was a lot of work, as we both have acknowledged now, that was put into the recruiting process. And it's his first blush, but it looks like it's producing something.
Mentioned that Prudhomme was in double digits. He had been the only player to do so for Niagara, but now Page is up to 11. Zonke and Larson also in the front court here as we approach the 2-minute mark remaining in this game. Gave that foul to McDermott. Now Prala trying to get it across the timeline, does so. And everybody watching with much interest on the bench here to see which one of these players gets the first basket.
Pass.
But it's going to be Milosevic. No, left it short, but he's fouled on the way out. As Milosevic will go to the free throw line. The Dukes in the second half shooting 56% from the floor, 59% for the game.
Yeah, that was looking at the same thing.
Ooh, airballed that free throw. Alex Williams telling him to settle down, settle down.
All right.
Williams, a graduate student from Dayton. And they were hoping he might be able to get healthy last year. Kind of the same thing with DeMichael. It never happened for either of them. But now just another piece they can go to.
Well, he played at Furman too, right?
Yes.
And he averaged double figures.
He had that injury coming out of Furman. It just never got better. And there's a three-pointer that goes for Prudhomme, who's going to walk out of here with at least 14 now. 6 of 9 shooting, so he's had a nice night. Oh, Williams will decide to take a three. That's off the back rim, no good.
Man,
Milosevic's fighting hard, and then Anish dives in to try to keep it going, and that gets some applause from the bench. And they'll pull Anish off the pile.
If I missed a season, I'm taking a shot. I'm sorry. And he was patting his chest like, my bad. But I think coach is looking for run the
game 2 now. Oh, I take that back. My mistake. It was Landon Williams who checked in for Niagara. Prala gets it out front. He'll use the screen. Williams will try another three. That one, looked online from here. McDermott gets the rebound. Prala wanted to do it from deep. McDermott will.
Oh! It's around the cup.
How much further down does it have to go? Did you see McDermott's reaction?
Yeah. It's like a putt, you know. It just goes around the rim in the cup.
Yeah, that was 3 times around the clown's mouth there.
That's right.
So the Dukes, if you want to look at their schedule, Ellis, you talked about the Sacred Heart game coming up. After that, it's Queens. And then on Saturday, the 15th, they will go play Villanova in Philadelphia.
Is that part of a tournament?
Yeah, it's part of the tournament that they got. The Villanova Challenge, Sacred Heart, and the Queens game, also the first 2 rounds of that. And now the crowd getting into it. They want burritos and fries if they can make him miss the 2 free throws he. And Larson.
When was that put on the menu?
Will oblige.
When was that put on the menu?
That one was actually on the menu last year.
Well, these guys are feeding a whole campus.
Prala feeling the double team, looking for help. McDermott, he wanted it after the last one was nearly down. Good spin from Prala, trying to ward off with the offhand. Now he's got McDermott in the corner. He'll just bounce pass it over to Milosevic. He'll go up, and he's fouled.
Oh.
No, almost got it to go.
He likes to go off glass. And that's one
You're talking
great memory.
the Villanova game you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the noon game.
Oh, the noon games.
Yeah,
okay,
the noon Saturday. They were a staple growing up.
I thought you were making a Big East reference there. So.
Oh, no. Hey, I could. It's just that those were fun.
Hey, I also want to mention that the women won today, 89-60. Congrats to Rachel Zimmerman, who does your gig for the women's team. She got inducted to the Pittsburgh Basketball Club Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So great job out of her. Congratulations. One more basket maybe for the Dukes here. No, intercepted. As Prala's eyes got really big.
Page.
And Page will go in for a layup and get another cosmetic 2 and make it an even 20. Unless Milosevic gets screedy, now they'll just wind out the clock, and that will do it. So game 1, season 2 for Drew Joyce. He got the win a heck of a lot quicker this time around.
Yeah, that's right. Last year it started to get a little agonizing.
Hunting for 6 games and then to go to a different country before he came back and had a win under his belt.